What's going on? This is Big G from G Riders and welcome to another episode of Testing Rides. Today, I'm going to be testing out the 2020 Chevy Camaro LT V6. Welcome to the 2020 Chevy Camaro. The 6th gen of the Chevy Camaro was introduced for the 2016 model year. And this Camaro was a big deal because it completely changed platforms from the previous one. So the 5th gen Camaro, or the one that the modern Camaro came back with the Bumblebee and all that stuff, was on the GM Zeta platform. And the Zeta platform underpinned cars like the Chevy SS, the Pontiac G8, and all the different versions of that car all around the world. And I mean, of most places, it's more famously known as the Holden Commodore. But for the 2016 model year, they moved to the Alpha platform, which is a more focused sports car platform, which pretty much underpinned only the sport sedans and sport coupes from Cadillac, so like the CTS and the ATS, and now with the CTS and ATS gone, it's the CT5 and the CT4. So this is the more sporty, more performance platform that's now under this Camaro. So for the 2019 model year, the Chevy Camaro got updated a bit. So they made the front look a lot more aggressive, and they added some more modern LED headlights to the front and some more cooling and things like that for, of course, for all the models really, but it more was to affect the V8 model of the Camaro. And they made the rear, as we're right now, more retro, to where some of the first-gen Camaros had some of the more rectangular taillights. This is kind of their more modern take on that. And I didn't like them when I first saw them, but kind of seeing them in person, they look a lot better in person than they did in pictures. This is the 2020 Chevy Camaro LT, and the LT typically comes standard with the inline turbocharged 4-cylinder, making about 275 horsepower. This has the optional V6, the LGX 3.6 liter V6 that makes 335 horsepower and 271 foot-pounds of torque. Yes, this one is down on torque than the 4-cylinder at 295 foot-pounds of torque, but this engine just honestly feels better. So with this being the 2020 model of Camaro, so this one is of course, like I just said, this is the V6, but this one also has the new 10-speed transmission. For the 2019 model year, the V6 did not come with a 10-speed transmission, but it does now this year. And that helps it get a respectable, for the type of vehicle this is, 19 in the city and 29 out on the highway. And because this is an American, like kind of a muscle car, sports car, it does weigh about just under 3,400 pounds. And that sounds heavy, but the 5th gen of the Camaro in the same exact spec was about 4,000 pounds. So that's they cut a lot of weight for going to the new platform. This is the 2020 Chevy Camaro 1LT V6. And the 1LT V6 starts at about $28,000 with the automatic transmission, just like this one. But you can find these for a lot less money than that. Some could be as low as $22,000, $23,000 brand new, no miles on it. You're the first owner of the car, which I think that is not too bad for a 335 horsepower sports car. The one thing about the new Camaro, though, for me is I think the V6 Camaro is the perfect middle ground of Camaro, because I feel, my opinion, yes, the V8 SS is the more sought after model, but it has a lot of power for like a lot of normal just city driving. And most of the time when people own these cars, they daily drive these things, and you don't really need 460 horsepower in a daily driver. So I feel like the V6 is a great one to go after. And honestly, my opinion, I would spec one of these up pretty highly, just because this could be a great do everything car. So with that said, let's go ahead and take a look around the vehicle to kind of look around it, and we'll get inside and then we'll go out on the road. Welcome to the 2020 Chevy Camaro walkaround. Let's go ahead and take a look around it to see what it's like. So let's go ahead and start with the front of the new Camaro. So the new Camaro front is pretty aggressive. So if we go down low here, I think it looks really good. Like, I like the way the grill is designed. Let's come a little closer and take a closer look at that. I just love the way the grill design is nice and open. And honestly, I believe there is a package to get the grille painted gloss black, and I think it kind of needs it, but this is a base model. This is the budget model of the Camaro, so I think it looks good for that. It does come with full LED headlights and tail lights, so let's go ahead and remote start it so you can see the running lights. I think that just looks really awesome. coming around the side of the Chevy Camaro, it is on the base 18-inch wheels, which I think it's actually a pretty good wheel design. It just looks kind of small for a car, honestly. But it's a good wheel design. You got your classic Chevy Camaro badge on the side. Walk around, and then let's just take a look down the side of the body lines. I think the Camaro is a pretty good style car. It's just like in this base model form, it can look pretty bland. But if you just add the RS package, which is like $1,500, it'll make a huge difference. So walk around the back. The back of the Camaro to me is the most boring as part of the design. I think they could have did some more with kind of the diffuser area there, but I do like the new tail lights, and I like the new tail lights with the clear lenses. So this one has the red. The clear lenses are so much better on this one. All right, coming over to the side is basically the same as the other side. I like that you get the keyless access system on both doors. It's the type that you just have to push to open. On each side, there's no type of feedback, any noise feedback or anything like that. It just does it and not does it. I think they should put like some type of noise feedback on that, so you know for a fact that you locked your car. But that's just my opinion. But overall, I think the new Camaro is a good design, even in its base form. I think that it's a very well styled car. It just needs a couple things to make it look even better. So let's go ahead and take a look at the inside. Let's take it out on the road. All right, let's go ahead and take a look at the interior of the 2020 Chevy Camaro. So this does have the keyless access system. So to unlock it, all you gotta do is hit the button once for driver door, twice for all doors. And there's the interior of the 2020 Chevy Camaro. So before I get in, let's start with the door cards here. So the door cards are pretty hard plastic. This is a base model. We already talked about this, the $28,000 model with the cloth seats. I like the two-tone cloth seats, and it kind of makes it look a lot less boring and mundane. That it just makes it look a little bit more interesting. Just for being the cloth seats, I think they look fine. So let's go ahead and hop in. Welcome to the interior of the 2020 Chevy Camaro. If you take a look around the interior of the Camaro, it's basically the same Camaro that it's always been. You have these nice circular vents. You got some nice clear dials in the front that are both analog. It has like a smaller digital in the middle, and it's smaller of the two. If you get like a 2S, if you get a 2LT or the R or one of the higher models of Camaros, you get a kind of a full digital. But this one has a little tiny one. Has some nice paddle shifters. I love the steering wheel design. I didn't like it at first, but I like it. It's grown on me. It says Camaro on the bottom, and it's flat bottom too. You have your seat up and down here on the left. You have your volume here on the right. I wish that they were kind of more here in a more central location, but it's not that bad because you got your cruise control there, and you have kind of your phone and stuff information all there, and kind of your D-pad to work the menu and things like that. So here in the middle, you have these nice cool vents to turn the temperature up and down there. Then you got the fan speed there. Then you got some little screens down there in the middle that gives you all the information that you need to know. You have the smaller of the infotainment of the Chevy MyLink infotainment system. This is the 7-inch unit, but it does have Apple CarPlay and Android Auto as standard, and it has a couple other things on it, but they're all like basics. So you know, it's not. I don't think there's really not a reason to talk about this. It's the same old Chevy infotainment system that's always been. It works really well. It's pretty quickly. It's pretty responsive. That's it. You got your OnStar up here up top. You have 2 USB ports in the center, and you have a nice spacious glove compartment and basically no back seat. So honestly, it's not really any different than any other Chevy Camaro that's out there. But the more important thing about it is how this one drives. to the driving portion of the 2020 Chevy Camaro LT V6. Let's go ahead and hop out on the road and see what this thing is like to drive. So the first thing that you notice in this vehicle is this car feels quick, a lot quicker than the numbers would suggest. So this car has 335 horsepower and it weighs just over 3,300 pounds, which is not too bad for a car like this. And you know, 335 horsepower is pretty good, a pretty good power to weight ratio. And I believe this car goes 0 to 60 in like in about 5 seconds or less than 5 seconds, and it feels every bit of that. So while we're still talking about this, let's go ahead and talk about the transmission too. So this has the GM and Ford joint venture 10-speed automatic transmission, and it is really quick shifting. If we had to smash it, shift, shift. It is really quick shifting. So like, even though this might maybe the same transmission that is found in like the Ford Mustangs and actually a lot of Ford vehicles, I think that GM did a better program of the transmission. They programmed it to be a lot more responsive to the paddle shifters, especially in the sport mode. I think the Mustang 10-speed is pretty good, but the last time I drove one, it felt like the tune on the transmission wasn't 100% done. And this definitely feels a lot more done than the Ford one did. Because but the 10-speed transmission came out on I believe the Z01 was the first one to get the 10-speed transmission, and then it moved over to the regular V8 models in 2019, and then in 2020, which is this year, for the 2020 model year, it moved over to the V6 also, and the 4-cylinder still has the 8-speed automatic. So this car is this transmission and engine combo is very responsive. That's why I talked about this a little bit in the other portion, is this is the one to get. The SS, I think, is too fast for the everyday roads, but this is kind of perfect amount of horsepower. So the Camaro handles very well too. So let's talk about the ride. The ride in the Camaro is actually really comfortable. So this is a sports car, but this is like the basic of the sports cars, and this has the 18-inch wheels, so it doesn't have the big wheels or anything like that, and it rides pretty well. It rides very well for a sports car. So like, there's sometimes you go over certain things and it's a little bit bumpy, but that's what you expect in a sports car. But for the most part, it rides very well for a car like this. Second of all, steering response. Steering, it feels pretty tight in this car actually. So this car has, of course, the electric power steering that most new cars have nowadays, and this has the power steering like electric power steering that most new cars have nowadays, and it works really well. Like it has some pretty good response to it. It has pretty good response to it. You have a pretty good feeling of what the front wheels are doing when you're going through corners, and it's just good. There's nothing really, no complaints, no extraordinary things about it, but there's also nothing that's bad about it. It's just pretty good steering response. I love the size of the steering wheel because it makes this car, it's a little bit smaller, so it makes this car like a little bit more tossable in the corners. Not tossable, but more confidence inspiring in the corners. So it makes, having the small steering wheel makes the car feel really good. So I'm going to talk about the elephant in the room, but this is something that everybody has known as who's driven a Camaro. The visibility in this car is not great. So I have big hands, and I can touch from my fingertips to my thumb against the window basically, and that's not a whole lot of window, to be honest. But when you sit down low in this car, you can kind of get a decent view out of all the windows and everything. But this car kind of it's like driving a cave. So like when you go to look behind you, you can't really see anything. So honestly, if it were me, I would option the electric, the camera rear view mirror system, and I would also option blind spot monitoring, because honestly, you kind of need it. There's been a couple times where I go to try to change lanes, and just because I didn't look enough before I got over, I almost went into somebody. So blind spot monitoring is a must. And yeah, but that's common knowledge when driving a Camaro. If you drive a Camaro, one of the new Camaros, you know that there's not a whole lot of window and it's kind of hard to see out of, so you kind of expect that. And the other thing is, So let's kind of talk about how this car feels as a base model vehicle. So this is the base model V6 model, and this car at $28,000 or less is an excellent deal. You know, it goes 0 to 60 in 5 seconds or less than 5 seconds. It handles well. It looks pretty good. You could probably throw some nice wheels on it, maybe throw some good suspension under it, and make this thing handle absolutely amazing. And that's the one thing that's been kind of shocking about this car is it feels so much faster than what those numbers suggest. 335 horsepower, you're like, okay, that's pretty decent. But 335 horsepower in this car feels absolutely amazing. And if you're, I mean, it's one of those things where, like, if you're taking a look at one, you need to go drive it to kind of believe what I'm saying. So this car is very good value for the money. Like, if you're just looking for an entry-level kind of sports car that's fun to drive, still light on its feet without kind of having to go up to the V8 model, the V6 is definitely the one to get. It sounds good, it handles good. You know, the engine feels, it's the same old engine, V6 engine that's used in like a lot of other GM products. It's the LGX, and the LGX is used in a lot of different vehicles at this point. But at 335 horsepower, this is definitely a good option. At 335 horsepower, that's definitely good power for a car weighing this much. I don't think there's really that many bad things about this base model Camaro. You know, it has all the basic stuff that you'll need, like a backup camera, Apple CarPlay, Android Auto, push button start with keyless access system, and it has a remote starter system, which is really nice. But this car has basically everything that you'll need. Like, only other thing I feel like I would need in this car is a sunroof, because I like to get some more light in the top, and it makes this car feel a little bit less claustrophobic. Like I said, it's like driving a cave. So if it had a sunroof, it'd be like a cave with a skylight. So it's a little bit better than just a straight cave. But I absolutely really like this vehicle. You know, I always kind of looked down on the V6 Chevy Camaro as like, oh, you only got that because you couldn't afford a V8. Honestly, you might have just got this car because you didn't want the V8. This is a great model to get. It's just a straight up good car. And honestly, if I were looking to buy a Camaro at this point in my life, it'd be this one. I think that this V6 Camaro has a good amount of power for everyday use. You can actually use this and actually have fun without risk of losing your license. I mean, if you hold the throttle for 5 seconds in a V8 Camaro, you're going probably twice the speed limit. So, and in this one, you're just at 60. So, you know, it's really, this car is a really awesome car. So, like, honestly, out of all of the base model of the American muscle cars, like the Challenger, this, and the Mustang, this is my favorite for the more performance-oriented stuff. Of course, the Challenger is the big, comfortable, it's like the big, comfortable couch, but this is really good in terms of base model, performance model. I think if for my money, this is the one that I would get for if I was buying a base model of one of the muscle car, sports car situations. So, if you're looking for a fun to drive, comfortable, pretty cheap, and pretty fun to drive car, you should definitely take a look at the 2020 Chevy Camaro. Whether you're taking a look at this base, if you're taking a look at the V6 or the 4-cylinder, they're both good cars. I didn't drive a 4-cylinder, but if it's anything like this, I know it'd be an excellent car. If you like this video, hit me with a thumbs up, hit that subscribe button, keep riding me. Thanks for watching.